It is my honor to announce the very first Goodfellows Award Medal of the day. In the rich tapestry of British colonial history, a singular honor was molded, not intended for the many, but for the select few who exhibited exceptional bravery and resilience. The medal was first issued in 1899, medal number 1033. This is an original Queen South Africa medal. This honor, a distinctive silver disc, was issued to Private F. Gallagher of the Yorkshire Regiment, marking his tireless service in South Africa. The spirit encapsulated in this medal resonates profoundly with the unwavering commitment of the Goodfellows Award towards sustainable wealth management. It is with great honor that I present the Queen's South Africa Medal of 1899 to Lord Meghnad Desai.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled, privileged to interview my own professor from the London School of Economics. It's really a remarkable moment to have him on the dais. Let's welcome Lord Meghnad Desai. He's an Indian born. I'm going to use scripts. The reason he has got too much of accolades. It's not easy for me to talk about an individual who are rewriting the history. Indian-born, naturalized British economist and former Labour politician. He's a recipient of the Padma Bhushan Award from the Indian government, the third highest civilian award. He's a professor emeritus of the London School of Economics, life peer as Baron Desai of St. Clement Danes in the city of Westminster. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and privilege to have on stage with us Lord Meghnad Desai, Padma Bhushan awardee and the Professor Emeritus of London School of Economics. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity to have this conversation. Welcome to the Good Talks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I had an opportunity to peek into your autobiography. Having born pre-independence India, you have witnessed the growth and the evolution of both India and the United Kingdom, both in the political side as well as on the economic powerhouse. As someone whose life has paralleled these remarkable events, what is your opinion or the key growth factors behind this growth?
Well, you know, one very interesting thing that I have observed is there's a lot of idealism on politicians, and idealism doesn't always pay. You have to be realistic. And in India, the big difference was made when the realists took over from the idealists. The first generation was very idealistic. We thought independence will change the whole world. India will become rich and this and that because the foreigners had been keeping us back. They were not. We were keeping ourselves back. You have to become responsible. And the realist people, after about first 40 years of messing around, changed the whole picture. And they suddenly got India globalized. And funnily enough, in my childhood or in my adulthood, when I was a teenager, we all thought there was something called socialism which will solve all our problems and capitalism will go away and all that. And you know, I've lived through the complete disappearance of communism. You know, even in China, there's no communism. They're good capitalist people. And nobody ever thought this would happen. But look at India. India has finally decided in 1991 to be capitalist and has now become a successful capitalist country. You have to have people who are willing to learn from experience, admit their mistakes, and try to change the world. And that is same thing here. This country, within my lifetime here, I've lived here 58 years, has become a multiracial country, which we never thought possible. I arrived here, and very soon after I arrived, there was Enoch Powell saying, oh my God, these black people are going to come here and going to ruin us. Nothing. And at the coronation of Charles III, you saw how multiracial, multi-religious, and ultimately this country is not as rich, as famous as it used to be. But it is a happier country, where people are better. I'd rather live here than anywhere else, because this is a very tolerant, nice, civilized country. Not as rich as America or Germany, but who cares? You feel comfortable here. So in a sense, there's something about politics in India as well. In India, the new governments have been trying to make people better fed, better kind of, looked after. And that's what it is. You've got to look after people if you are in politics. And you always must worry about the people who are not getting the best of life and try and do better for them.
In your experience or in your whole life journey, you have met people all over the world, from across various parts of the lives. Would you say who is the most interesting person you ever met, other than me?
Absolutely. That's a very difficult question to answer.
Can you tell somebody who was a life-changing person? You met the person and your life personally, other than your wife, your life changed.
That's interesting. I'm thinking about it because, in a sense, I met so many people and so on. I guess, I guess my grandfather, my mother's father. It's very unusual in India for a man to live with his daughter. There are people who say you can't go to your daughter's married house and even have a glass of water among some Gujarati families. He was a very interesting person because the first of the generation which became professionals. They were basically small landowners, high caste, didn't ever have to work. Every day you sat down at lunchtime and talked about what's for supper, and you didn't have to do anything. He became a railway guard of the railways. And so he was traveling everywhere. So he knew, and after a while he gave it all up because something happened. And the rest of his life he just did nothing except be good friends to people. He was fond of building houses, so he built houses for people and so on. But he always told me, he educated me when I was very young. He taught me English, how to speak English. He said, sit down here with me. I was about 4 years old. And I'll tell you how the Englishman would talk about this. And so he said, now speak after me. And it's amazing, the man was of the world, completely different from my father, who was a very, very serious sort of person. And in a sense, he always talked about his childhood and what he... And somehow he opened a number of doors. And I still remember him as my first teacher. Even before my mother, he was my first teacher.
Wow.
And he was a great guy.
Inspiration.
Very great inspiration.
I want to ask, which is your favorite subject? Economics.
Yeah.
You are one of the biggest contributors in this country or to the world when it comes to economics. You have contributed a lot to the London School of Economics. You established a center for the study of global governance in London School of Economics. And people who know him, he has written tons of books and he contributed a lot of papers.
About 50.
50 books. It's not...
Nobody reads them, but I write them.
If you have been provided an opportunity to rewrite something, modify something from the global financial system perspective, from your contribution, what specific changes would you prioritize and why?
I think I would actually like to make people think about money differently. Because, there are lots and lots of superstitions and suspicions about money. I mean, think of the cryptos. If the Bitcoin had not been called a coin, nobody would have bought it. Right? Because Bitcoin is not a coin. Crypto is not money. Because, just to, as an economist, what I would say, crypto has no use value. You can't wear it like you can wear a gold chain. When gold is money, but it's still useful. You can't wear a Bitcoin. You only buy it because you want to sell it. It has exchange value but no use value, right?
But you don't call exchange as an utility?
Sorry?
You don't call exchange as an utility value?
No. Utility is can you use it? Can you eat it? Can you wear it? Can you do something like that? You can't do anything with it. It's a string of digits. But you buy it because you think this is money, and it will have, somebody else will pay me more money than what I paid for it. Right? It's a pure gambling thing. Now, this is because we don't understand what money is. And this I would like people to be able to understand that money is different from just something which will make you money. Right? And so it'll take a lot of education. But I would like, and I did something for the Mauritius government about the regulation of cryptos there. But you have to sink into people that this is a pure, what's what we call a bootstraps. It is held up by itself because you can sell. If you couldn't sell the Bitcoin, you would never buy it. Something else I buy because I want to use it.
And in a nutshell, all you want to say is you want to redefine how people perceive money.
People should value money. Why does money have value?
And I strongly believe abundance is everyone's birthright. And I read something very interesting from your contribution. You said poverty can't be abolished. And the better approach is to focus on the core problems of poverty and try to remove them. You contributed that, right?
Sure.
I would like to understand your perspective on why poverty can't be abolished, why it continue to persist, despite various efforts by everyone.
Yeah. My latest book is about that, actually. It's called The Poverty of Political Economy. The problem is that the people who think about poverty are the rich, and they don't understand poverty. So, from the World Bank onwards to all the governments, they say, now why is somebody poor? Well, he doesn't have enough to eat. How many calories does a family need? Okay, so many calories. What would it cost to have that much calories every day? This is $1 a day, the World Bank said. As if people do nothing but eat. Eating is the least part of one's life. Okay, you have to eat to do. But there are lots of other things people want to do. So nobody is interested in understanding, what one might call the potential that life gives you, things you can do in life. Of course, you can't do them when you're poor. If you, let's say, you are say disabled. Okay, you're deaf, like I am. For your good life, you need hearing aid. That is essential. In your poverty level, you should have a prescription of eyeglasses or hearing aid or. But we are trained to think very narrowly of the poor because we're not actually interested in the poor. We're interested in our conscience to be good. Oh, I've done things for the poor. Thank you. Can I go and do my own self? So there's always the idea, let's get rid of the poor who embarrass us. So let's define them so that they are not poor. But we don't actually care about their lives. And I think what we need to understand is that if you want to relieve poverty, think of the good life that you would like to lead and see whether you can do things so that other people can also have the good life that you like to lead. And I think it's very difficult because ultimately in every government policy, there's a very simple truth of what is sound economics policy? Cut taxes for the rich and cut benefits for the poor. That is a universal prayer. Everybody wants to cut benefits of the poor because, if you spend too much money, there'll be inflation and, it's terrible, terrible. But cutting income tax of the rich, that's very good for growth. That's what you need. And you get elected politically if you cut income taxes for the rich. But you try and introduce better money for the poor, they'll say very, very profligate. Now, we have got into this logic, and we've got to get out of it. We really finally got to get out of it because it is to care not just to remove poverty statistically. Define a poverty standard. I've got only 7% poverty. Find out how people's lives can be done better. And all my life, that's what I want to do. I want to use my brain, such as it is, to find out ways in which I can convince people that there are better ways of tackling this problem.
Really commendable to hear that, sir. How do you envision the future of our planet and the potential contribution that organizations like Ideas Global can make to ensure sustainable and resilient futures?
Let me put it this way. I'm not skeptical about the science of climate change, but I'm very skeptical about the political will of doing anything about it. When I went to America at the age of 21 to do my studies, there was a book called The Silent Spring by a woman called Rachel Carson, and you may or may not have heard about it. The kind of beginning, when she pointed out that using insecticides kills birds, and insecticides are bad, and if you want to prepare birds, you have to think about the environment. At that time, around about in the 60s, everybody was saying, 1 week to save the world, or 1 year to save the world. When, we're still here, the next COP, whatever it is, people say, we must save the world, it's very urgent. Nobody has done anything about it. Why? Because if you tell me that, 1.5 or whatever it is going to happen in 2050, I say, not going to happen in my lifetime. Thank you very much. Why do I care about it? That's one thing. We don't feel it immediately to us because it is not our problem. And also, people talk about the global problem, but the global problems are not common. There's too much difference in what the rich countries want and what the poor countries want. The poor countries still want to go on burning coal because coal is valuable to them. It's all right for rich countries. We will have wind or solar, whatever it is. Of course, they don't have enough of that either. Now, when we talk about climate change, it's all the dead things, carbon, this, that. It's not about people. But the biggest danger of climate change is people being made homeless. People out on the boats in the Mediterranean or in the South Pacific who have to leave their home because their home has sunk under the sea. Now, one of the biggest problems we are going to face, and you know, if you live in this country, we have a completely mad Home Secretary, I don't mind saying that. And you know, we spend more money preventing people from staying here who already arrived than we could by just letting them in and doing their own work. But that's the life. Now, very soon we are going to have millions of people having to be rehoused. And I think the biggest problem the world is going to face, as a part of what the Lord Mayor was saying about climate change, is not so much climate as what is going to happen to the homeless people. Where are you going to rehouse them? How are you going to convince? See, where you have countries with low density of population. I was talking to the ex-Prime Minister of Mongolia who was here. He didn't tell me he was ex-Prime Minister, but he's a professor like me. And I was saying, my dream would be to convince and make the countries which are low density, you know, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, they may not want it, but we have to ask their permission to house the people who are going to be homeless. It's a huge problem, and nobody is thinking about it. I would like to organize so the people who will have to vacate the South Pacific Islands or Goa or wherever else, all the coastal areas, those people will have to be rehoused. And we can't behave like the UK is behaving about people arriving on the doorstep. We have to be more humane than that. We really have to globally construct incentives for the countries which are sparsely populated to accept these strangers and to house them properly. Actually, when you look at this country has gained from immigration more than I can imagine anybody thought possible. But there's still the idea, oh, they're foreigners. We won't let them in, they're dirty. You know, everybody thinks foreigners are dirty somehow. We have to say, one of the greatest problems of climate change is how you look after the people who are going to be affected by climate change, how they're going to be made homeless. And if we could have one of you, many clever people, create a fund which will convince what I call the empty countries to take the crowds of people who are looking for a new home. If that could be done, and I once said this in a BBC program, that would make a great change. That would be the real solution to climate change that I can think of.
I want to ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
How old are you, sir?
I am 82.
The reason I'm asking
I'll be about 83 next year.
I'm asking you why.
Oh, this year.
I can check this in Wikipedia, but why I'm asking you is because my grandfather doesn't have a birth certificate in India. Yeah. You understand those days, whatever they said.
Yeah.
They commonly take a kid and ask the kid to touch touch the ears like this. Yeah. If you touch the ears, then you're qualified to go to school. That's how they measure the age. So I just want to know how old are. So you're 83 years old. So you might have seen.
I was born in 1940.
Okay.
In July. So in July I'll be 83.
So you might have seen various cultures, various people. I know you speak about economics, finance, climate change, various topics. What gives you fulfillment? What makes you, your life, okay, I've done something, happy?
I think reading and writing and speaking. Seriously. I've stopped doing anything else now. I just want to read and I want to go on writing. I want to have new ideas, I want to go on writing. And then I want to talk. I won't say preach, I want to teach. Okay, so reading, writing and teaching are the three things. That's all I can do. I can't do, I'm completely unpractical. I know nothing about technology and I can get things wrong all the time. But if I can read and write and and teach.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much having you here. It's our honor from the Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, let's celebrate the life and the times of Lord Meghnad Desai. Thank you so much for the insightful and very inspiring session.
Thank you very much.
Sir. Thank you.